Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Graphene Manufacturing Group, chatting with Craig Nicol, founder and CEO. Thank you all, everybody, for sending in all your questions. We will get to as many of those as we can, as well as recap some of the questions from that most recent April 17th webinar. But we also have news to talk about in terms of early works for a second generation technology graphene production plant, G Lubricant testing data, and G Lubricant website now live. I'll also get Craig to weigh in on what's going on in the battery division as well as the thermal XR division. Graphene Manufacturing Group is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol GMG, on the OTCQX under the symbol GMGMF. So, Craig, let's get into some of that recent news. I want to start off with the May 21st news release, this second generation technology graphene production plant. We talk a lot about how the company develops your own graphene to put into your products, and I constantly get questions on how much can you produce, what are the details around production. Give us an understanding here of what this second generation technology is that you're putting into this production plant, please.
Hey, Corey, great to be back on. Yeah, so currently we're about 0.5 ton per annum plant. We're not graphene production constrained. It's not something that is actually an issue for us because we use so little in our products and our batteries right now. It's not the issue, but we can see that we need to build a faster, better, cheaper way to make graphene, and that's what this Gen 2 technology is. So it's been in the works for a while. We're very proud and very, very eager to make this happen. So it'll boost our production capacity, likely up to about 10 ton per annum with one extra unit more. So the technology basically provides 20 times more graphene production, our current technology. So that's 20 times per hour from one reactor. We expect it to be similar or better quality as well. So we've done a lot of work in the space to make all that work. It'll really provide us with a fair amount of product that we can then obviously make into our thermal XR coating, graphene lubricant, and then help with our Super G and batteries. So it's quite a big point or time or milestone in the company to get to this point. 9 years or near 9 years of work, and whilst we're running our other plant, we'll be able to run both at the same time, or we'll just alternatively switch one out. So as we introduce the quality review of as we switch it on, we expect it to be online by mid next year.
Yeah, I saw the news release says by June of next year, so about a year's time. Craig, does this do anything to the cost of producing this graphene, this new technology?
Well, this ultimately will be our go-to-market technology. Once we get it up and running and we have this technology running, we'll be able to look forward to really low costs that we've always talked about in being able to roll this out into other countries as well. So this will not only give us an ample revenue opportunity, but it'll give us the ability to then bring this to market in a number of cookie cutter style module plants around the world as and when we need to. And so this, we think, is the technology we'll take to market. So lots of opportunity, gets us to be very low costs. You're talking really, really low cost in terms of production opportunities. Once we are able to confirm all of the true outcomes of having it turned on, we'll be able to come back out and say those things. But it basically would be, we'll be able to make graphene cheaper than people can mine graphite. That's where we're talking. And it will be quite an environmentally green process as well.
So, Craig, since it sounds like the big picture here is being able to build these modularly, put them around the world, does this technology use any different inputs to create the graphene, or is it mostly the same inputs?
Yeah, it's the same inputs. It's actually just creating a more advanced plasma. That's good. Yeah, so that's why we've spent many years developing a plasma which can do this. Plasma is the basis for our core technology. It's not very well understood as a technology or kind of state of matter. Even engineers and scientists are not really, educated about plasmas at university. So we've had to really learn an enormous amount ourselves to do it. And now we feel comfortable taking the next step of really bringing into more just a bigger plasma that can take a whole lot more graphene production from pretty much the same amount of gas. So we're not increasing the gas flow, we're just increasing a much greater, higher amount of graphene outcome. It's really, really a very exciting step.
So, Greg, I'm curious, since this is going to produce a lot more graphene, especially if you get up to 10 tons per annum than you currently need, would you sell excess graphene to the market, or would you simply just not produce that much and just retain all of it to use for your products?
Yeah, I mean, currently the strategy is we produce for our products because we know how to use them, and we also know how to leverage our very small amount of our graphene. And our graphene is very, very different. We know it is. It's got a lot of amazing things going on it for multiple different outcomes, and that's why our products are so good at very little dosage. So that's our focus. Now, as of course, if people come along and maybe they want to talk to us about our Super G, which is our graphene additive for lithium-ion batteries, then we could probably talk to them about that. We could work with some pretty large companies, but really our focus is selling our G Lubricant, our Thermal XR, our Super G, and then scaling those through distributors and then getting the production to be able to meet that.
Okay, Greg, just a quick comment then. How much is this going to cost? I know it's in the news release, and what sort of funding do you have to complete this new production plant?
Yeah, so the initial phase, we've just gone ahead with long leads for just shy of $1 million Australian, so 900,000 Australian dollars. That'll get us a long way there to actually getting the project up and running. The total capital cost is about 2.3 million, but that will be largely spent the back end of next year. And yeah, I think we'll see some optimization around how that gets done. It's all about increasing our packaging ability. So it's not just all about the graphene production, which then enables, because as you produce more, you've got to be able to pack it. And that's what the rest of that money is for as well. So it's basically going to be a step change. Right now, our graphene production is automated through the production plasma process. But by the end of this, we'll start to see this will be pretty much automated all the way through to packaging as well. So it takes the next level step, which means we can actually really start to bring out the modular plant design. Most of this money was articulated in our board deal financing for a bit less than $6 million Canadian in March this year.
All right, let's also talk about the other news release May 29th, the G Lubricant testing results. Headline says this showed 10% fuel savings and 33% reduction in particulate emissions. Craig, explain to us what the testing was done on and why this is important to further get G Lubricant to market.
Yeah, so when you test diesel engines, it can be very difficult to fix the speed and fix the load and fix the ambient conditions. And we've now learned how to do this. We have very prescribed system, and which has all been signed up by University of Queensland, actual external engineers as well. And that way we feel quite confident now in bringing in a new engine and do the tests and run all the same equipment. And now we're adding emissions as the harmful NOx and SOx, and then we're also doing particulate matter testing. And so this was another engine we did, and it tested better than the initial engine, with basically around 10% increase in fuel efficiency or 10% fuel saving, which is a substantial amount. And we used all the same ways that we used to measure previously. So what it says is, I guess, this is a repeatable measure, which we already knew, but this just shows you that's a repeatable, completely different engine. This is a Caterpillar engine, much younger, 2,000 hours. The last one was a Cummins engine. We've also done it on others, which showed similar results. So we're starting to see a good repeatability around that double-digit 10% fuel reduction at the high load, that is. That's substantial. There are literally billions of cars and trucks and vehicles of any type that need fuel consumption reduction, as a big cost reduction outcome. So that's what we're here to focus on. And, I think we'll find ourselves, as we grow the database around this, as we do continues to do more testing and release information. People get more comfortable. They can buy directly at g-lubricant.com and do it work for themselves, or they can actually start talking to us about being a distributor, which we have got all of that going on as well.
Okay, let's stick to the G Lubricant division. As you said, that website is now live. So you are selling this product, something that we talked about in the webinar that I think we need to rehash here simply because I received a few more emails about it is in terms of US sales, does G Lubricant require an EPA approval, just like the TXR one we're still in progress?
Yeah, so we believe so. We believe we need to get an approval by the EPA for G Lubricant. We actually don't need to do that for the rest of the world. It's just going to be US again for G Lubricant. So we're working through how that can be done so that we can provide that to potential customers, distributors as fast as we can. So we're in the process of working through that now.
So where is G Lubricant being sold around the world? Where would revenues come from in the near term?
Yeah, so glubricant.com is launched so people can buy it and test it. So it's for R&D purposes. And as a result, we have a number of people already tried it and they now talking to us about as distributors. And there are multiple companies in negotiations right now to become a distributor for G Lubricant. And that enables them to enjoy the benefits. And then obviously the fuel benefit is the biggest benefit, and their customers would then see that. What we're seeing is roughly $1 spent on G Lubricant by the end customer saves about $10 in fuel by the end customer. So it's a 90% value to them, 10% to the distributor / GMG. That's a pretty amazing product. We've obviously just got to get people to be aware of it. And, there are plenty of distributors who are now reaching out saying, how can we help with that? So that's our main focus is to push these sales out, get distributors in various countries around the world, and then we'll obviously attack the US EPA space with enormous amount of energy once everything gets pulled together and we know how to progress that.
All right, one more question then quickly. It seems like these G Lubricant is used for diesel engines. Have you tested it with gasoline engines at all?
Yeah, plenty of us have put it into our own cars. I've put it in my own car, and you typically see about the same, double digits, kind of 10%. Especially if you do some highway driving, you'll see about 10%. If you go around town, you might see a bit less. You might see single digits. But that market is probably more interested in, because the amount of fuel they buy is obviously nowhere near as much as big trucks, probably more interested in power outcomes. And that's something that we haven't really pushed to understand what's the power increase that you get from G Lubricant, which you clearly do, but we haven't quantified it. So that would be a different marketing campaign, really. But you do get the fuel saving benefit in a petrol car, even very new ones, which clearly see from our own cars.
Okay, so I know everyone's just wondering where these sales are going to come from, when they're going to come in. Let's move to the battery division and more of a broad question involving what milestones you're shooting for battery development, especially in terms of the pouch pack, whether it's with that Rio Tinto agreement or in any sort of battery development sense. Can you give us the lay of the land, potentially even a year or two out, and what sort of milestones we should be watching for?
Yeah, so we're still going through electrolyte and electrochemical optimization, which is a defined stage of battery development, bringing new technology to market. We still hold the line that would be getting into sending it out for customer testing by the end of the year, and then having commercial production in about 2 years' time. So that's on our corporate deck. We are working with the BIC in Indiana, and they are one of the world's leading battery innovation centers. And that work, we believe, really has enabled us to remove about 1.5 years worth of construction of building our own plant. Now, there's lots of battery plants out there right now that haven't been used, and it provides us an opportunity of how to actually think that through, because lithium-ion battery plants can be used to to make our aluminium-ion battery. So that's kind of where we're at. There's, we have a timeline that's out there that hasn't changed. We're working with the BIC. We've kind of crunched our timeline by about a year and a half because the BIC has the ability to produce enough cells for us to send it to customers. We'll be sending out, very clear milestone updates once we send to customers for testing. That has not happened yet, so we're still optimizing. We're optimizing around at least nine dimensions in a battery. It's been in our presentation deck for a while, but those things, you can get 8 up and that ninth one is still hanging out. So you still got to get the ninth one up. So then you go back to the drawing board and optimize more. So that's enabling us to, still have some pretty good confidence that we'll make this happen. And that's why we're still involved with a number of companies, confidentially as well around this battery.
So Craig, for this battery chemistry and the makeup of the battery, does it just come to an aha moment where you put together, I assume, some sort of a prototype and it just works or it functions the way that you assume? Or is there something else that's going on here that it isn't that simple and that's why it takes so long to, I guess, figure out what you go to market with?
Yeah, excellent question. I mean, battery science is really quite interesting. You can have the aha moments, and we have had many. We can do things now in our battery that we've, couldn't do many times the day before we found out how to do them. And we just, we know how to do that. Okay, cool. It's a kind of heuristic learning type technology. You've got to do it to learn. You can do all the, theories, and we do. We have very deep atomic level theories of how our battery works. And we've got very good mechanical, like stable steady state battery analysis. We don't yet have a dynamic combination of those. That's the next level, which we said in our announcement last year. We're working on that. But we've got a pretty good understanding about how our ions work. I think very clearly more than any other company that, certainly that we've seen around aluminium-ion batteries. So the optimization areas are known and we've just got to optimize them. If we do talk about them, it's just a clear communication to our competitors who might just want to go and start doing it. So we can't tell you exactly what we're optimizing because then that tells people how to go and do it. And that would just be giving our competitors a commercial advantage we don't want to do. So we need to make sure that everything that we're doing is the best we can and pushing our team. We run a sprint program that's still happening. We've made easily more than 1,000 pouch cells now in that sprint program. They're weekly sprints. We do the work. We come out a week later. We then say, how did that go? We do more, and then we do another sprint the next week. So it's kind of IT kind of scrum type thing. How do we get this going? We don't really know what's the kind of slowest thing to get done in this time. So we'll just do everything at the same time. How do we make this happen? Kind of IT programming kind of code kind of space. Because our battery is so fast charging, we can do that. With a lithium-ion battery, you can't really do that. Our battery, we can charge and understand things the same day we put it on. Lithium-ion battery can take 3-4 weeks before you understand it. So that is really enabling us to do iteration at a really big lightning speed in terms of a battery industry. And that's enabling us to kind of learn pretty fast. But that's what it's all about. It's just learning, doing, learning, and really, inventing this complete new technology. That's what it is. We still hold that it has this amazing future. So that's what we focused on. And, we've brought some pretty amazing technologies already to market. They're less than, say, 12 months old in our eyes. So they're still going through the customer review process. We believe this is the fourth product that, will be similar and it'll be also just as amazing or maybe more.
Well, we're all waiting for it here, Craig. I get so many questions on the batteries. People send me some technical ones that I don't even know how to address. So I like to keep it kind of high level for these interviews. What about thermal XR? Talk to us about any developments there, the clients or potential clients that continue to test thermal XR. What's happening on this front?
Well, there's a lot of things going in distributor land. Where obviously America is the biggest coating air conditioning market there is. So that we're still waiting for the EPA approval, which I think everybody knows. So that will be, we believe significant revenue when that comes through. The market is not going away for that. Data centers are seen as a big opportunity, and also large industrial plants. We aim to have some news out on that shortly. We are doing more technical work on this whole space to show how amazing this coating is, because I don't think people really get this technology yet. And hopefully that will then show how amazing it is and then increase the speed of adoption. TXR is one of those products that people will genuinely go, I don't understand, please tell me, or I don't understand, I'm too busy to understand. And so the more we understand, the more we share how easy it is to use, the more people will be able to see how amazing it is. The work we've done there also is around taking it all the way down to a final kind of small pack, which we're also in the process of putting that out, which will be thermalxr.com. And that'll provide also people to be able to buy it and use it and give some revenue as well. And then being able to see how to use it in multiple ways, getting rid of corrosion and shifting heat faster. So there's what we're learning is we're spreading our opportunities across many different OEM manufacturing, which we're still doing the work for and work with across many different sectors, and then going deeper into the product to show how amazing it is. And we should come out with some data on that. And then also going into small packs. So we're broadening our channels for revenue to show, that this is a real world leading product. And as the patents come through around the world, it just strengthens our ability to really push this out to market.
So, Craig, to that point, and I guess on the revenue front, with all of these divisions, batteries, thermal XR, G Lubricants, especially thermal XR and G Lubricants that are ready for market, you talk about distributors, but then there's also the potential of major partners, OEMs that could use these products. And then there's the retail side. I see the retail side as being maybe a little bit harder to get to and a little bit smaller initially, but what do you see in terms of the best path to market? Is it through distributors, or could it be an OEM or some major partners?
Yeah, so we haven't really talked about our partners on this call, and there are some major partners that we're talking to who could license that technology, and that's something we could, we're kind of happy to do, because we've got so many different technologies now that what we've found is nobody else can really do them. And they're not only amazing technology that we've proven results, we've actually got patents pending or patents finalized around them. So they become quite easy to bottle up and help with the global energy market transition with big partners who want to use these types of things. So that's what's coming into the fray. It's very interesting, Corey, early days, but we've always said we're a manufacturer. That's why there's an M in the middle. But if someone comes and says, look, we'd really like to see how we can license your tech and work with you and take it away and use it ourselves, that's also, becoming, because what we're seeing is there's just so much opportunity and we're not necessarily fit to do it all because there's just so much to do. It's crazy, Corey. I've never been in a space where this has been the case. So we've got to find ways of getting our products to market, get revenues in, obviously, get substantial revenues in, show shareholders that, we're worth far more than we're currently as a company, which we believe we are. And then, go from strength to strength after that. So partnerships are definitely on the table. We've always thought we should have, if at least one serious partner per product group. So that's 4 partners we could have globally, and they'd all be different, all world leading. And, we are having conversations in that space. But these big companies, they want to see revenue. They want to see that the product's accepted. They take less risk than others, of course. So that's why we have multiple revenue opportunities or channels going on so that they can also see that as well.
Hey, Greg, I think you're right. From all the emails that I get, I think people are just looking for those revenues to come in, and people do seem excited about all these products. But yeah, the amount of questions I get on revenues, when are we going to see revenues? It's quite impressive. So that's why I bring it up on all of our calls. And everyone, thanks for continuing to send in your questions. Please keep them coming. Again, my email address, fleck@kereport.com. I'll book Craig in about a month's time and get your questions answered. So, Craig, really appreciate the update here. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Corey.